Hey, you guys. Welcome back to my channel. It is Ali, your eccentric slow mad. Trying to get this rocking and rolling again. I didn't have sound on the last video, so trying this again. But anyway, you guys, let me let you know what we're talking about today. I am going to share with you a little bit of my trip in Cabo Verde. I went to three islands, so I'm going to share with you the first island, one of the tours I did in Santiago back in February. So if you are new or you join regularly, because it seems like I have a lot of new viewers that pop on. And so if you are, let me first make sure, hold on. Sorry, you guys. Since it didn't have sound before, I thought I better check it. Sorry, you guys. Okay, yep, I got sound. All right. But if you're new to my channel, I am an eccentrically slow man. I am traveling the globe um, slowly, checking out different places. I am seeking, hold on, I'm trying to wait for it to catch up. Okay, I am looking for a new home base for the most part and going to different countries and exploring different cities along this journey and sharing it with you guys. I talked to a lot of people who are interested in doing this as well. And so my quest and goal is not only to bridge cultural gaps, but to assist you guys with going from the I'm just going on a trip for short travel to those who want to accelerate into being longer term travelers, nomads, slow mads, and even immigrate to another country. So that's my goal here with these videos and sharing my knowledge and giving you guys tips and things like that. Let me know if it's helpful. If this is the information that you like and you're looking for something like this, or you know somebody who's looking for this type of information, click the subscribe button, share it with a friend, click that like thumb, and also click the notification bell so you'll get notified when I do lives like this or when I post videos, new videos. So today, like I said, we're going to be talking about Cabo, my trip to Cabo, and one of the tours that I did in Santiago. And I'm going to do something a little bit different, you guys. I'm actually going to show you video and then kind of commentate, and you can ask any questions that you want. But let's get it started. Let's see if this works. Yay! Okay, let me make sure you can still hear me. Okay. All right, we're all good. If something goes wrong, please just shoot me a note. Okay, so basically, y'all just got to show me flying. I take a video of every flight and landing that I have ever made, for the most part, unless I'm already asleep or it's too dark to take one. But I believe this is actually me flying from, this is me flying from Rhodes, Greece to um, Lisbon, because I had to stop in Lisbon, and then from Lisbon to I flew to Santiago with a stop in South. So I'm going to talk about that really quick. Anyway, what ended up happening is I was in Greece for a couple of months, off and on. Yeah, like 70 something days, off and on between the span of 6 months. And if you guys don't already know, when you're in Europe, you if you're not a resident or some sort of citizen or working or something like that, our US passport gives us 90 days in a 180-day window, and it's a rolling 90 and it's a rolling 180, and so you gotta keep track of it yourself. And so I was getting close to my 90 days, and was ready to move on and find my next spot. I was going to pop over to Turkey, which is where I am now, but ended up finding out that a girlfriend of mine, who's from Cabo, was going to Cabo in March. And so I was like, oh, well, let me try to jump on a trip and go visit. I hadn't seen her in years, actually. It was before her second son was born. So it's at least been three, four. Oh, it's been longer than that because I've been gone almost 4 years. So 5 years, 5 or 6 years. However, her first son was a baby at the time. So anyway, that's how I ended up deciding to go to Cabo when I went. It was already kind of on my list, but I hadn't really decided when I was going to go. And I will tell you that it is a place that, depending on where you're coming from, you do kind of want to plan it out, because there's some nuances with getting there and moving about. And I'll share more of that in kind of an overall video. This one is really going to be about my tour around Santiago, but I will tell you guys that while we don't need a visa, as US passport holders, you have to figure out, if you hold a different passport, what the rules are for you. But as US passport holders, we don't need a visa, but you do need to register online. And basically it's like a visa. It's a ETIA. So, or I call it an e-visa. Basically, you pay like pre-tax, so to speak, it based on how long you're staying, I believe is how it works. So it comes up to about $30 or something, which, I mean, technically I consider that a visa. And so you do that before you go and you get the approval and everything. You can also do it at the airport. You don't have to do it prior to. I'm just one of those kind of people where I'm just like, listen, if you got stuff I need to fill out, if I can do it beforehand, I prefer to do it beforehand, and that's just kind of how it works for me. So you've got those. You've got that little thing that you need to do there. And another little caveat is, so I flew from Rhodes to Greece, Rhodes to Athens, Athens to Lisbon. Wow, that was a lot of flights. Wait a minute. Yeah, I feel like I stopped in Athens. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I don't even remember, you guys. That was just a month ago. But anyway, once I got to Lisbon, you fly from Lisbon to Cabo. And Cabo, I say Cabo Verde because the local said that's the way it's stated as a local. Foreign people say Cape Verde. But I mean, everybody says it too, but that's just what they said on the island. So now I say Cabo, and it's Cabo Verde. It's probably not Verde, like I say it, like we say it in English. But anyway, that's why I say Cabo. I'm not talking about Mexico. I'm talking about Cabo Verde. So anyway, there's a couple different cities that have direct flights now into Cabo, and I can list those in the description, but one is Lisbon. And we'll talk a little bit about the history. Germany has, like, you can fly direct from Luxembourg. Sometimes the UK has direct flights, as well as France. France has direct flights. And I feel like there's one more. I'll have to go and look and see. But it's one of those, this is one of those countries that it's not always that easy or inexpensive to fly to, which is kind of indicative of just moving around Africa as a whole anyway. So just a little bit of history. Cabo Verde is a West African, one of the furthest most countries in the continent of Africa, on the west coast, right off of Senegal, and it's south of Canary Islands. So if you've ever been to Spain, and you got the Canary Islands, which are are part of Spain, and then you've got Madeira and Funchal and all of that, which is part of Portugal. So you got all these a few clusters of islands, but Cabo Verde is further south and literally almost directly across from Senegal. And Cabo is made up of uh, 10 volcanic islands. Spit it out. 10 volcanic islands, and of which 9 are inhabited. So you can visit 9 of those via either ferry or plane by flight. And this is one of those things that I will say, as you guys know, I'm kind of a fly by the seat traveler. This is one of the places that I will be honest and say you do kind of have to plan it, or you need to be there long enough to just kind of go with the flow and let the wind blow you where you may. You don't really want to get caught in trying to get somewhere and be somewhere on time or at a certain time, because there might not be another option that day or something like that. And let me just go back and say about the visa for US passport holders, we get 1 month, 30 days, with our that paid registration that we do. You can apply for 2 months, but you have to do it in advance. I didn't do that, so I only stayed a month. So I kind of needed to get everything in that I was going to do within that month's time frame, which is fine. So let's flip over to me really quick. So knowing that there are 9 islands, you might want to do a little bit of homework too to decide which island you want to stay on, how long you want to stay, and if you want to do some hopping around. And I have a couple tools that assist you with some planning too. So let me know if you guys are interested in those, in some of those tools as well, because I use them to see what types of activities there are on the islands. They also can assist you with finding accommodations, and I'll also list out. I did this when I was in Tanzania. I kind of had a whole guide for all the things that you can do in Tanzania, and I'll dig that out of the archive and share that. But maybe I'll just create one for countries in Africa or something like that. But I'll put together something for the places that I visit in Cabo, so you kind of have an idea of like what the setup is, and that's what the next videos will be about, is the structure of Cabo. So especially if you're going somewhere you want to stay for a longer period of time. But if most people, I think, go for 7 days, maybe 10 days, and it's perfect for something like that. Because then you can decide, you'll pop on an island for 3 days, then you'll pop over to the next one if it's possible. And, all those kinds of things you can kind of work out in advance beforehand. And a lot of times you can get your accommodations set up based on how you're moving. I found it to be a little bit more difficult because I didn't have a guideline. I didn't have a timeline. I was just kind of floating by the seat of my pants. And that's, I think, how I set myself up a little bit for not as much success, because I figured I could just roll in and jump on a ferry. I just came from ferry world, and it's not the same. It's some islands, they have, schedules that are great. But traveling across, like say from Santiago to Sao Vicente, is on a ferry may or may not be a good idea. You may have to get a flight. And sometimes what I found when I was there, which I think is indicative of it being carnival season, some of the flights were just crazy to go from island to island. It's like 45-minute flight. And it's crazy. The other thing I would highly suggest is that you go with the least amount of baggage that you possibly can, especially if you're kind of moving around like I am, or you're just popping in. It's for the most part, it's pretty warm everywhere. The last island I was on was probably the chilliest. It was the windiest. The first one I was on was like 90 degrees every day, like sweltering hot. I still got tan lines. It was wonderful, but it was really, really hot and humid. And then further north in South Vicente, it was not. It was hot, but there were cool days. Like I could always carry a jacket, especially at night. It definitely got cool. So just paying attention to those types of things will help you have a more pleasant flow and journey. Okay, when you get there. So they have their own money, their own currency, which is a good thing to know. Languages spoken are primarily Creole and Portuguese. I'll explain why it's Portuguese. Some people speak French, and everyone in more of the touristy areas, they speak at least a little bit of English. So you can definitely get help along the way. Take your Google Translate and, make life a lot easier for you from that perspective as well. But the reason that Portuguese and even French is heavily spoken, most of the locals, though, on the islands that see some tourism, but really our family knit Creole is really the language of choice. But Portugal colonized Cabo Verde, and it was, Cabo, the islands of Cabo were actually instrumental in the transatlantic slave trade, which was a big thing with Portugal. And so it kind of makes sense when you look at the proximity to the West Africa slave trade and all of that, and where the islands are located. So there's some of that history there. Now, I didn't find any historical historians or anything like that did tours of that nature there, not like you can find in Portugal or Senegal. I didn't see any of those. Maybe they'll have some at some point, maybe not. I'm not quite sure. But what the islands are really known for is the nature. It's almost like Galapagos Islands, but in Africa. There's tons. They have a whole area in a couple different islands for sea turtles, because that's a big thing there. Something that you see a lot in Tanzania. They have sea turtle, I call them farms, but I don't know if they're called farms, but where the sea turtles come up on shore, lay their eggs. And so they're very particular about that when it's in season, to make sure they block it off and all that stuff. So you'll see a lot of that. They have a lot of nature, a lot of the islands, just green and plush. And as you're kind of going and you're doing your homework, you'll find out which islands are for hiking, which islands are for kind of, surfing and windsurfing, kite surfing, or whatever they call it, different things like that, and different boating excursions and fishing. They also have things like that. I mean, it's just a lot of nature things, and a lot of people go there for the hiking. There's one island in particular that is really well known for the hiking, and because each island is a volcanic island, you can experience that nature on each of them. Some a little bit more plush than the others. So that's just a little tip. I'll tell you the main islands. There's some small ones in there, but the main ones are Santiago, São Vicente, and I say Santo and Tao like that, but it's like one word, Santa and Tao. And they say it so fast, but anyway, Santa and Tao and Boa Vista. And so there's a couple of other ones in there as well. There's Mayo, which I'm probably saying wrong, and then another one starts with an F, and then another one up here somewhere. So just know that there's a lot of different options and things to see. So depending on what you want to see, how much of it, and really, what experience you're looking for, will determine which island that you go to. All right, so let's get out of that. Now let's get over to the video. So I'm just showing you guys. This is just me um on the plane. Oh, that's my shirt. Get the that's a shameless plug. Get your Fantastic Journeys merchandise, and you can find that. I'll put a link in the description too. But I always say, y'all, everywhere I go, does anybody else do this? Take pictures of the clouds. Or take video every time I'm above the cloud. And that's why I didn't have like these amazing cloud formations, but normally I have beautiful formations. Now I want to stop it here. I want to tell you guys something about this. So you notice that I was up in the air and then we landed. We're in Cabo. So this is after we left Lisbon. So the important thing to share with you guys here, because I didn't understand it. Nobody told us this. Your ticket doesn't say this. It'll say a direct flight from like Lisbon, but it's not a direct flight. It's always going to stop in like Sal, from what I understand, and from what I experience. And so the way that it works, I'm just going to tell you guys this right out the gate so you'll understand it. So let's say you're not getting off, your final destination is not Sal. You're going to Santiago like I was, or São Vicente or Boa Vista or something like that, right? And whichever flight you're on, it's usually a 2-stop. So, but they don't tell you that, at least not on Cabo Verde airline. They don't tell you that. So when you land, they make an announcement, kind of, and they say, anyone who is your final destination is Sal, please get off the plane. Everybody else stay seated. And so you're kind of sitting there like, oh, okay, bet. It's one of those kind of flights where we stay on, and as soon as everybody gets off, they get the luggage and all of that. Because I'm assuming they separate it, then we're just going to take off again. It's a small airport, everything. That's not how it works. So this is what you need to know. And why we're walking back onto a plane in Sal when Sal was not my final destination. It's because everyone has to get off the plane. But what they do is, which is interesting, they let the people who are staying in Sal off first. They go through immigration separate. And then those of us who are flying on to our next destination, we have to go through immigration at that first stop, which is really interesting because you still go through some sort of kind of like an immigration when you land in your final stop too. It's interesting. So you get off the plane, you only take your carry-on luggage, and they tell you to take everything. And I think it's because if something happens and maybe you're not allowed in or whatever the case may be, you have all of your belongings. You don't get your check-in bag. If you check the bag, you don't get that. It doesn't come through or anything. So however they have it worked out, and I guess if something happens, they'll go and find your bag and pull it off. And then, so you go through immigration at that first stop, but you go separate, you go with the second group. And then they walk you to where you're supposed to be, and they basically wait for individual people. So it's interesting. I wonder what they do when it gets really crowded, when the season is heavy, right? And so while you wait, and then the plane never leaves. The plane is still sitting there, waiting for you, and it takes probably close to 30 to 40 minutes, depending on how many people are on the plane. And we had a pretty full flight. I'll tell you another thing about Cabo. I don't know if I'll tell it in this video, maybe the next one. Cabo Airlines. And so the plane is sitting there, but we literally had to sit and wait. Not quite sure what the wait was for. We waited on the inside and then they lined us up on the outside, and we waited like another 10 minutes or so standing outside. And then they let us proceed to walking onto the plane. Okay. So that's just a heads up so you guys know what's happening, because the second time when I flew from Praia to São Vicente, the same thing happened. But because I was landing in São Vicente, I was getting off, but there were other people who were not going to São. They were going to maybe Sal. They weren't going to São Vicente. They were going to Sal or somewhere else, wherever else it was routing to. And they didn't understand what they needed to do, because they really don't tell you. They just tell you don't get off the plane. Then they tell you to get off, and then they tell you to take all your things. But it's not really clearly explained as to, what's happening in this whole process. So just FYI, and if you guys have questions, please post the questions, or, get at me separately, because my email is part of the description that I put in there for you guys. Anyway, on my link tree, you can find my email. So anyway, and then you go and you land in your final destination. You go back, you still have to go through like some sort of security. Your bag goes through security. I believe it was weird because it was different depending on the airline, and then bam, you're out. And so this part of the video is actually me walking. They have this a great structured kind of boardwalk. These are like, how they have little gyms and things in different areas. You'll see this a lot in European countries. I don't know if I have sound on this. Let's see. Oh, I do. Listen to that water. It's so beautiful. So this is literally right by the hotel that I booked. And I'm just out for a little bit of a walk, exploring the city. And this is me just continuing to walk a little bit more. This is just to give you kind of a view of how pretty, how beautiful it is. This is in Santiago. I'm in the capital city, Praia. And then this is the actual tour. So this is when the tour starts. I get picked up. They have their different guides. The guide travel group that I ended up taking for this tour is called BU Travel Tours. So it's a BU. I don't know if it's BU, but it's BU Travel Tours. And you actually can find that group servicing multiple islands, which makes sense. The same company, same travel company supporting the different islands, not the same people, but that company name. Because you know how a lot of times, like, I don't know if you guys are like me, but I think we are. We become brand loyal kind of quickly, especially if you're a traveler and you're out there. You kind of find people that you niche with, and that you can vibe with, or a name that sounds familiar, like toothpaste or something like that, right? And you're like, oh, I know this. Oh, I know this. And so you kind of, especially if you had a good experience with them, then you end up going with one that you already know. So that's kind of nice, I think, that you have that opportunity to jump across different islands and potentially use the same company. Unless you already got someone lined up, or you got friends and family and people are telling you who to use and stuff like that. And sometimes that works out and sometimes it doesn't. So anyway, I got picked up for my tour. It was a full day tour. I wish, let me see. I don't think I can, but I'm not gonna mess this up because I don't want to screw anything up. I was gonna show you a visual of the island so you can see kind of how far we went. We had, as you'll see in this video, we had quite a few stops for the day. It was a nice air-conditioned tour van, enough to seat probably 9 people, 9, 10, possibly even more people, because I think each row there's bench seats and then there's the single seats. So it was pretty big. And so we actually had a full house and we set on our way. And these are just some short videos of us going through town. So this is just like the downtown area of Praia. So our first stop was at kind of what I just say local auntie's house because you part of the tour is to immerse yourself in the culture in someone's home, and I've done this in Morocco too. I've done this in the Canary Islands. Gosh, pretty much every place I've been that's had a tour, they usually have something where you have a meal at a local's house. So you get to experience actual process of making food. You hear some storyline, and I'm gonna hush so you guys can actually hear some music. I'm gonna go back a little bit. But it's actually nice. There's actually a guy playing a guitar. And I thought I had video, but I couldn't find the video. So we got some music and um, some food. And so I want to show you what she's making is one of the staple dishes in Cabo, which is couscous. And so she's basically showing the process of making the couscous. Here where she's putting everything in, she buttered the bowl, and it actually has the look of like a potter's plant, right? Which technically I guess it is. It's like a tagine or a potter's plant that you put plants in, but they use that to make the mold for the couscous and to cook the couscous. So she layers it all in there, puts the different ingredients, including some baking soda, I think maybe a little sugar. I think it was sugar. It wasn't salt because I think it was a lot. And buttered the inside of it, piled all the couscous in, kind of tightened it, put it in there pretty tight, and then went and put it on the stove to cook it, which is the next video. And that's kind of what you see is this process of cooking. And what she does is she takes what looks like some of the flour, the couscous, and makes a seal around it. So it's got the water at the bottom of the basin there, and it's cooking on top. And then one of the other things that she made were this is a tradition that they have, is these it's like banana fritters. And they take real bananas, and I mushed up some. I couldn't find the video to share with you guys, but take these, bananas, mush them up, add a little bit of flour and pinch of salt and some baking soda, whatever, blend it all together and then deep fry them. And this is what they have for breakfast along with coffee. And so now you see this cone shaped thing. This is the couscous. So they're going to prepare this. Music's still playing. And so now you see this is couscous. And they cut it like cake. Y'all, it's like having cake in the morning, or what we call cornbread. So I thought it was like just plain cornmeal, but it's couscous. And that's what it looks like. And you get, and some people, you can put butter on it. You could put butter on it. You could put a little bit of syrup on it. We had it with coffee. It was really, really good. We ate good. There's the guy that was playing the music too. So it was a nice experience. I'm always intrigued with how local communities, how they prepare their food, what they eat, why they eat different things. It reminded me of ugali. I couldn't even think of the name when I was there. I think it's called ugali, right? You guys, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong. It's a East African thing, tradition they make with like the cornmeal, and it's it's the staple. It's in every dish. I mean, I don't know that I've seen a dish that didn't have it. You have it with vegetables, you have it with your meat dishes, and so the couscous is kind of the same concept, um, just a different grain. So it's really neat to see the variances and then see things that we eat, and we just eat it differently, you know. So it's really neat. Okay, so I'm gonna show you guys some more. So then we left there, and we're driving to our next stop. But this is an area where I guess everybody stops to take photos and that kind of thing. And it's just simply beautiful. You can see the water down there, the lake in the middle. I mean, like, so as I'm telling you, like literally, you can go hiking. There's so much nature. There's different types of trees, fruit trees, um, medicinal trees, all kinds of things all around. And this island is huge. Like you don't realize how big it is until you're driving it. And so anyway, there's me with the flag, my Cabo Verde flag. Woohoo! With the awesome background. Isn't that fantastic? So yeah, everybody got out and took pictures, and we kind of just, did that for a minute, and then we hopped back in and kept driving so you guys can still see, like, it's just filled with so much nature. It's beautiful. Some of it is probably uninhabitable. Um, just because, or I would say uninhabitable, typically because depending on the terrain. But I'm always wrong because I've seen places where they use zip lines to get from point A to point B. Where was I? I have to think about where I was. I don't know if it was Morocco. No, it wasn't Morocco. It was somewhere else. But, or they can build roads in ways that we can't even imagine. And maybe they use a different type of transportation. Maybe it's not cars. Well, in Indonesian stuff, if they live out in the mountains, they use the elephants. That's what the elephants were originally used for, is for transportation. And then different countries, like in East Africa, up in the northern part of East Africa on the coast, they use donkeys. It's more flat on the coastline, but when you kind of go inland, you have all kinds of different types of structures and things like that. So anyway, you never know. So then after that, we went to a local market in town. Well, it's kind of in the middle of the island. It's another one of these towns, and I'm just walking through, letting you guys see what they have. Just tons and tons of greens and produce and beans and tomatoes, you name it. Greens, beans, potatoes, tomatoes, chicken. So they have fish. So one of the other things, look how big and just vibrant. And I bought soap and stuff here and everything. Hold on, I'm not gonna show you guys. But one of the things to note about Cabo is their meat, like their traditional meat is tuna. So you'll see tuna with everything. And I will admit, even being plant-based, I actually, there was one place I went to that I actually would get tuna, and it was because it would be raw, not a tuna steak, but just, some cutlets of tuna in a salad. It was $4. And you get everything. And so, yeah, I did actually have some animal when I was in Cabo. But that's one of the things that one of their staples. Are very well known for their fish. So FYI, heads up. All right, so after that, you could shop if you wanted to. So I just bought some soap and stuff from one of the ladies, and I actually still have some. And then we drove through and we went to the place where a lot of people go and stay, and it's Tarrafal. And I'm probably saying it wrong because I'm saying it like an American, but it's Tarrafal, and it is on the farthest northwest part of Santiago. And it's, as you can see, a whole different village. And there's a church, they got a playground, and then there's the beachfront. And there's people that are selling things, things that you would normally see in kind of a more touristy area. But you guys, look at this water. Look at this water. And then there's the boats on the side. I just take a photo. But amazing, amazing. Yeah, I'm just gonna walk around. So I'm just making my way the long route. So I'll let you guys just see this. I don't need to talk through it. See if I got sound. Get my steps in. Look at this amazing view. Just wait for it. Wait for it. Wow, look at that. It's so beautiful. It's beautiful. So yeah, there we are. There's the sign, of course, the infamous sign. Man, and as you see, there's boats out there. I didn't see any cliff diving or anything like that, but you could swim. Um, People do go fishing. There's different tour boats for different things, but we were on a tour, so couldn't jump on another tour. However, I will tell you this, which I thought was pretty interesting, pretty neat, is that and I kind of wish I would have known because I didn't have a timeline, but the tour company I was with, two of the people, hmm, actually this happened on two stops. So on this stop, a couple that was with us got off and stayed there. So they basically paid for the tour. Maybe they had a different rate or something. And they did the tour up to that point and then went to their hotel and stayed. And they stayed for like 2 or 3 days. And then I guess you work out arrangements to go back because the store company is probably going up there and back. And so, you pay for your seat. So that's really, really cool, right? So that's something to think about as well. I added that to my list of things in terms of how to move about in different places is sometimes check with the tour companies and see, hey, can you drop off? Can I drop off here? And is there a different rate? And then if I want to come back, can I pay for a seat to come back on Wednesday or whatever? So anyway, little side note information. So I'm just gonna let this play. So I decided to walk into the water because you always want to walk in and see because we could swim. We had like 2 or 3 hours. Yeah, it was a little cold. It was a lot of cold. It was very, very cold. The sand was super soft. So yeah, no swimming for me. Ended up just grabbing a bite to eat with one of the other solo tourists that was on the trip with us. And it was interesting too because everybody on the tour spoke French. And our tour guide actually spoke French. He actually didn't speak English. So the guy who was driving spoke English and he actually translated for me because I was the only person that only spoke English. Another reason why it's like, God, I wish I could like matrix into the back of my neck and just automatically be able to speak languages, every language. That's my my wish for, like magic trick, my Jedi wish, trick that I wish I could, impose and create. So anyway, um Yeah, I don't know why I was saying that, but just FYI, the tour guides, a lot of times, most times when you go to a lot of places, they do speak multiple languages, and so I'm glad that the driver could translate, spoke very good English, because, and then a couple of other of the people spoke English as well, but it wasn't for them to do the translating for me. I paid for an English tour. Um, for an English tour. And actually, that's the only offering. It only allowed me English. It didn't offer anything else. So the fact that they sent someone who didn't speak any English was just like crazy. Because then I was just like, well, how am I going to know what's what? Because it wasn't just a one stop tour. We actually traveled the entire island, and he was talking to the group. And then it kind of became kind of weird because it was like, okay, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're saying. And I've only had that happen once when I went on the hot air balloon tour in Mexico City, well, right outside of Mexico City. And the guy didn't speak any English at all. And he spoke a different kind of Spanish because I couldn't even do to translate. Um, but that was interesting. I actually should do a video like this about that because I did a lot of footage on it, and it was in the middle of COVID. And so they had separated eat the basket into fours or sixes, and you had your own little cubby. But anyway, that's a discussion for another day. So I get off track so easily. So anyway, just FYI, just this was just a heads up for me, another reminder to make sure to check and ask if you're going to a place and you're wanting to make sure that your tour is going to be in a language that you understand. Otherwise, it's not as fun, right? So anyway, we're moving along. This is the coast, y'all. So we're going around the north part, heading east, because now we're going to make a couple more stops. But this is like the scenic route. That is just so beautiful. Oh my gosh. So we're heading to another village, and this village, locals still live there, and we're going to go and visit a kid's school, the school that's there. I can't remember the name of it, but I'll type it in the description. So it's really neat. I mean, so you go to places, it's the same in like Honduras and other countries, and you'll go and you'll actually be able to see these indigenous people communities and how they live, and it's awesome. This is the art school, and these kids actually drew all this art, and it was actually really intricate and really interesting. We were trying to figure out what each thing was. Actually, I want to play that for you. Let me go back.
Flower.
That's like a little xylophone kind of thing.
Okay.
When smash it, can be like a flower.
When
Start
you
to,
when you sniff it,
yeah.
what does it do?
They put on the nose, and then other ones put on the
And what is it like?
So what he was talking about, she was making, it was like these leaves, and you burn them, like not burn them, but you smoke them, and to dry it out, and it actually becomes a medicinal powder. You can dry it up and make it into a powder. And he said what they do is they actually inhale it, they sniff it. But it's something medicinal that they use, and I don't remember the name of the leaf or the plant that they use. So if anybody is familiar with this, please comment. Um, and let us know. But that was interesting. She's sitting on the outside of one of the buildings. I usually don't do people's faces, so if you're wondering why a lot of times I don't have a lot of people's faces and stuff, it's just from a privacy standpoint, just to respect that everybody doesn't want to be on camera. And a lot of times, even when you ask, they'll say yes, but that doesn't mean that they want to be on camera. And so what we're trying to see is not necessarily her face anyway. We're looking at what she's doing. So that's why most of my videos are like down, especially if you're walking through crowds. You can't ask everybody if they want to be videoed. So a little bit more driving, and we are heading, I believe, to our last stop. And as you can see, is these all these paved roads and stuff like that. So it's quite developed. And this is out in the boonies. So this is on the far east side, and we're coming back around. And this is our last stop for the day. We are stopping for coconuts. And at this point, oh, let me tell you guys this. So back by the village, one of the families that was with us got off and they stayed there, and someone came and picked them up, and they grabbed their luggage and they walked somewhere, and they were staying in that part of the island for however many days. It's really cool because there's other like if you're looking online for accommodations, you'll actually see hotels and things along the island, but they're in less populated areas. So this is one of the ways to actually get to those places without taking a taxi and it being extremely high. Basically jump on a tour that you were going to be on anyway, or that you wanted to take, see some of the sites, experience some of the culture, and then boom, you're closer to where you want it to be anyway. So I think that's pretty awesome, right? So then we go to the last stop, which is like the Coconut Gorge, the coconut area. It's like Coconut Street or whatever. I don't know. And so there's people up and down this road that have coconuts. And I just want y'all to see. I just want you guys to just
Back
see her
to the
skill.
place.
So now she's getting the coconut for me. My whole hand would be gone. I'm just gonna keep it real, y'all. She's looking for a good one.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh my gosh, can you get the meat out for me? And she basically gets the meat. It was so good and fresh. And that's it, you guys. Look how beautiful it is. It's the island of Santiago. So again, that was just make sure that that is off and stopped. That actually is one of the tours that I took when I was there. So it's like a full day. So once we left there, then I think we had like another hour and a half or so drive back to Praia itself, and they dropped the rest of us off. It was only like two or three of us left um, on the tour anyway. Actually, two. Me and the guy that was in the video. I think we were the only two left, the last two standing. And so they dropped us off, and I think it was probably close to seven, 6 or 7, something like that, just in time for dinner. And you go on your way. So it was pretty cool. A great experience. It's neat to hear the history. And just how the island functions today, some of the things that are commonplace for locals, and then just being in a place where they openly share their culture with us. And like I said, I'm always open to learn and see what other people, other countries are doing, and things that they've been doing forever. Like the fact that they haven't lost their culture, um, even going through all the things that the country has gone through, and then their economic changes because they're actually the Republic of Cabo Verde, so having their own currency and things like that, and the from what I understand, a lot of people left, which just happens in a lot of places. They leave for a better way of life, more better economy, because sometimes you can be in places where, yeah, it's great, but if you want advancement, you want access to different things, sometimes you do have to leave. So I think you know those are some of the things that we see when we travel, and it's just really it's really for me eye opening. um, Further makes me just appreciate being able to move about as freely as I move about. And then, just having the desire to learn about other people, other ways of life, because it's crazy as much access as we have, and specifically even like myself being from the West, and having so many things before. It's so crazy how, like, you go through this process, excuse me, you go through this process in life, not everybody, but where I literally the minimalization is high on my list of things that I just want to do. Like, well, how do you work that machete? I did use machete once in Belize. We had our own coconuts and our own coconut tree and own machete. So I actually have opened up my own coconut, but I did not do it as gracefully as she did, nor did I hold it in my hand. I put it on the table and whacked at it. I have some skill to hold it in your hand. No, no, no. But it's really neat to literally just see yourself kind of doing about face as you go through life. Like, you want all these things, you need all these things, and then you have things, and then you're just like, okay, I just want to learn some things. I just want to, chill. And so I'm at that phase of my life where I'm just like, wow, now how do I survive with a whole lot less in terms of material things? But I feel like I'm wealthier now than I ever have been in my entire life. Um, so it's awesome. Anyway, just wanted to share that with you guys. Let me know how this works, and I'm sure I'll see more people jump on and be able to view this after the fact. But if like the commentary and sharing it this way is cool, I might just do it anyway because it's just easier than trying to edit and voice over videos anyway. So, and again, you guys, if y'all have questions, let me know. If you have comments, you want to know anything specific about what you saw, let me know. If you're interested or have ever had a desire to go to the continent of Africa and you have not been, let me know because I am by far not the most African continent traveler, but I have now been to 6 countries. I can now say I have been to 6 countries and 3 islands of that, as well. If I can count them 3 separate, because they're slightly different. But I'll share more about Cabo. So let me know in the comments if you're interested in Cabo. I got the yawns, y'all. And then I'll share more about just the process of moving about. And then, stay tuned because I'm gonna be sharing more about Turkey. I'll try to do a video tomorrow when I'm out. Today it was just really loud and I didn't have I forgot my mic. So normally it's in my little pouch attached to my bag, but I didn't put it back in there yesterday. So anyway, I'll try to do some street walking and video live for you guys tomorrow. So be sure to click that notification bell so when I go live for that. And then I'm thinking it'll be more mid-afternoon rather than well, I guess it's mid-afternoon for you guys now. It's evening time for me. So anyway, let me know if that is helpful, you guys. I'm gonna get out of here and catch you guys on the next run. You guys know the drill. Toodles and noodles. Peace and hair grease.